Hello and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week we serve you up hot and ready stories fresh from the oven. I am, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to serve you up a fresh story, or the continuation of a fresh story. This is episode 2 of our leading story. Seth, you have a slight what's it called? Synopsis. You're going to run us through how it's going so far?
Yeah, I'll run us through how it's going so far. So to start it out, Levi, you had Pantheon.
Correct.
And basically what you have is, I think there was 10 official and kind of one in the shadows of these different kind of deities that came here. They kind of fought each other, I don't know, kind of like to a stalemate or something. But anyways, kind of together they created this this race, and after several kind of trials and errors as they were all trying to do their own thing, they kind of came together, the 10 of them that were left, and then kind of imbued kind of a general bit of all of their bits to them.
Yeah.
I take it that kind of makes sense, because each one trying to do their own thing gets so, which is I think kind of where we were getting to in the story. But as people give up more and more of kind of an aspect of one, they can heighten, another aspect of one of these
absolutely.
kind of endowed kind of things, either commerce or war or
and they all represent
or,
the psyche of a person,
Yeah. And so each of them kind of set up in like these main hubs. Like if it was like our world, it would be, like commerce, maybe commerce kind of one would be like on Wall Street, kind of like the bull and bear is.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of. And each of these statues, they are these, these gods, these beings, but they've kind of turned to stone because they've imbued so much of themselves into, this kind of race that they created. But each of the statues has like their hands. One is like offering out, like they're asking for alms. And the other one is like, I would imagine, like pinced together, like they're holding something, offering it to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
And so kind of in general, you have like if you go up and like touch the one as if you were to like give alms to them, it'll take a little bit of that away from you, kind of like giving an offering to them. And if you touch the other one, you gain a little bit of that aspect or quality heightens. So that's kind of how that is. And you've got all the different sects of people and different, stuff that kind of follow different ones. And then they kind of some of them will kind of give up more of their idea of commerce, so they can heighten or take more from like the god of war to be more tactical and aggressive and stuff like that. Or vice versa, depending on what their field is, either with like naval, what's that called? Sailing, navigation of the oceans, stuff like that. So there's always kind of some ebb and flow. And then you have kind of this 11th one, kind of this kind of dark figure kind of off to the side that, kind of isn't. A lot of people say, oh, that's a myth or fairy tale, and some people take it more seriously and some people don't. And it's, but no one really has a statue of him or not. But, he's kind of out there and kind of on more the sinister side of things.
Right, kind of the idea that like this is where evil came from, that he himself was the evil one, and so he spread himself out, and this is where like and since they don't know where his statue is, you can't like parade everyone through to take all the evil away, so it's just kind of always in the mix regardless. That's kind of the thought process I had with that.
And then we got the economic system. So kind of with how this is it's kind of a post-scarcity environment. It's like a central, I wouldn't say quite like it'd be like a cashless society.
Right.
But not quite, I don't think like a social credit system, but almost to that point, I would think, where, everyone, there's not really like a monetary value, but like an output value given to kind of what you've produced that kind of builds society. And so kind of in doing that, kind of when something like that's instilled, like kind of everyone produces something so that they can get their piece of the pie to keep, kind of, flatlined. But I would say one of the fallacies with it, like, so if you're a doctor, a doctor's paid, and it's not like they have a monetary thing, but if a doctor's being paid $10 an hour and a a bus driver, not picking on anybody here, but a bus driver is paid $10 an hour, right? Do you think you're going to go for the extra schooling to become a better doctor, or just go drive a bus and get your time in, right? And so like kind of a lot of innovation, or kind of striving to kind of innovate, produce more, do better in a general sense has kind of hit a stasis. Everyone has just about everything they need. They produce, their function in society. They get, their place, and it's kind of
right.
through like a central kind of accredited and debited system, where they have information on everybody. So that's why it would be like a social credit system, right, Reed?
Yeah.
Kind of. But the flip side of that is you have like a black market, and they kind of deal in tech, drugs, psycho enhancements, different things that are kind of like a trade and barter system that kind of pushes some of the innovation on kind of the down low or behind the scenes.
Right.
Where then it's kind of the cutting edge of, different enhancement kind of psycho drugs that might, enhance kind of like what you want to produce and do things, or special apps to kind of get around different corners, or to access different, different stuff. And so kind of this cutting edge to kind of on the down low and the back burner kind of, you got the kind of shaking and moving going on with kind of a black market thing that's not official, but it's, most everybody's kind of aware of it and kind of, deals with it. And it's, I don't think, connected to the monetary system. It'd be more like a barter thing. So you might trade, one enhancement kind of technology for some of the psycho drugs, or some of the psycho drugs for, a bit of technology that, might do something, or, kind of back and forth. Does that sound about right, Reed?
Yep.
All right. And then I had something based on a book I'm reading. And what I brought in is, so with all these different gods, the book I was reading was Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future by Father Seraphim Rose. And in the book, what I'm kind of bringing from it, he talks about some of the different like meditation aspects of some of the other like Eastern religions,
right?
And how it's seeping into the the Christian Orthodoxy or Christianity in general, and how it's kind of like a little bit of poison to a point that then kind of saps part of something out somewhere else. Not directly, but kind of that idea where it's, you might get some results, but it's not the right results. And so I'm kind of bringing that in, where there's kind of from this 11th God kind of guy, or just in general, this idea of this kind of this meditative state that is being encouraged for people to get in, that actually releases little bits of all of their connection to these other gods, and on the surface level, it, makes you feel at peace, not feel stressed, kind of, gives you a good feeling and makes you kind of all this. But what it's doing then is actually then siphoning out, all those little parts, all those little things that were endowed to these people, by all these other gods, and actually siphons it out to this kind of hidden evil being, which then kind of makes him gain power. And so that was kind of what we have set up. Does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds right and correct. That sounds great.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
What story elements do you guys have for this week?
I had fighting style.
I have anti-hero.
And I have reoccurring character.
So who should go first? I kind of feel like fighting style should go first because my anti-hero is kind of a fighter, but I don't know, maybe reoccurring character. Now, reoccurring character means any character from any story we've ever done.
Yep.
So, what do you think, Seth?
Yeah, it's no problem. I'll go ahead and go first because I have a slight world building thing to add with the fighting style.
Yeah, good idea.
If that works. So, okay, so the fighting style, so each of these different beings, what a lot of people do, like especially if they're like in a certain field, and I don't know if this is like widespread, but it's something that some people do, and there's kind of a couple sides to it. So you have they'll put like a gemstone, they'll insert a gemstone that then is connected to that aspect of one of those beings.
Okay.
Right. And then
So it's not
It's
like
you.
I dedicate this ruby to this god. It's like every ruby is the god of wars kind of thing. Is that what you were thinking?
Kind of, or it's like then they take the gem. I would say it would be like this: they'd take the gem and then they would bring it to the statue and then like touch it to the giving piece. And so it could be they use gemstones, let's say, because they hold an amount of energy or power, and then they'll insert them into like under their skin, so sometimes like in their arm or like in the back of their head or down their spine. Part of my idea was kind of like the chakra idea. So then it's like aligned up with, so some of these people will have like one kind of connected, through into their nervous system, kind of connected to all these different ones. And then they'll draw on it in like a time of need of that particular thing. And so like it'll heighten that thing for a moment or like for a little bit of time. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, then kind of drawing on that then, and then it's like inserted into their kind of cerebral so I'm imagining like they'll have them like kind of like the idea of like with the chakra stuff where it's kind of like those different colors as it goes down. I think the chakras, there's only like 7, but for intents and purposes, some of these people, they'll insert it like in like a lot of times into the spine or maybe into their hand or something like that. At least under the skin and kind of like something where then it'll make contact with the nervous system so that then it'll draw on to that particular thing a little bit more so in a time that they want it.
Yeah, as a way to sort of hype up the any one particular skill.
Yep.
Which goes along really well with like the whole drugs and like augmentations thing of reeds.
Yeah. So that's kind of the general thing. I would say that's something that's kind of going through the black market, and it's like something that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Or some people have, or important people have, or like people who are, actively, like military generals or, the top guys of Wall Street or whatever it is, the traders and not traders as in like, not tyranny, but treason, but
like
whatever it is, ship captains or something like that. So like a storm is like coming, and he's a good captain, but then like there's a storm, and so then he'll draw on that, and they'll kind of then light up, and so when they're using them, they'll actually like glow underneath their skin.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So anyways, and then just by like using it, it's connected to that essence of themselves, and so it'll actually get stronger the more that they use it then, and so long as it was endowed first, but then it'll then pull more and more, gain in power in a sense as
because people only have like a finite amount of essence of gods that they can hold within themselves. So this would make it so that you could essentially have kind of like a turbo mode or like an overcharge mode. Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
And so then the other side of that is then this dark god. He also has one. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know. And it's probably the same for you, Levi, Ben. And maybe I'm completely off on this, but what is it? Naruto, where they have like the red, the black robes with the red thing on it.
The Akatsuki?
Yeah. Are they good guys or bad guys? That's what's coming to mind when I'm kind of thinking of this, but they're just guys.
Technically, they're bad guys because they're willing to kill a lot of people, but they're just like, they're not necessarily evil. They're just like I guess technically they're like an evil organization.
Okay, because that's what comes to mind when I'm thinking of this. And so you have like the evil one is he'll endow one of these things to his like minions who then kind of go around kind of like that.
Right.
And then they become more powerful the more kind of like terrible things they do.
Right.
Which is then a draw because then it's like playing on that nature where the desire for power creates more power.
Absolutely.
And by being like giving over to that kind of more wicked nature, which is easy to do, and gets, let's say in the most times, instant gratification, right? Creates more power to it. And so you have like, everyone's kind of using that, but then you have like this dark, kind of like dark brotherhood or something that kind of are, like these followers of that, but then they have it, that dark crystal or whatever, embedded, and then it gets more powerful the more that they, mass murder, I don't know. This is, a family friendly, but I think everybody's got vivid enough imaginations.
Yeah, secret organization bent on destruction of humanity.
Yeah.
Bad guys.
Bad guys
with a capital B. So is there a specific fighting style, or is it just this augment?
I think it's just the augment where then
Okay.
it, heightens beyond like the normal capacity and then kind of grows in power. And obviously it's like something that's not going to just last forever. It wanes out. It's like a boost, like any drug, really. So it's not just like they get this implanted and they can always activate it, but it'd be like, something that then they can activate and then it takes a while to kind of cool down and then they can activate it again.
Right. Cool.
I think this is real. Can I go next?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is really funny because it's just really funny. And for those of you out there that think that we coordinate this ahead of time, I'm just going to give you some real fodder for this. But I swear, this is absolutely just serendipitous. The reoccurring character that I have is from a story we told, I think, last March. And actually went
cool.
5 episodes, and it was called Sci-Fi Chakra.
Sci-Fi Chakra?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And my character is Landon. He's the wise old man, and he is the uncle of one of like the I don't know what how you term the organizational style, but he's associated. I called it the statue Bacchus, the god of the Roman god of wine and fertility and all that. And Landon, if you remember, he was a wise old man, and he was uncle of the chief of the clan back then. But he is particularly gifted in the cultivation of what we called especially blue. It was a fruit, a berry whose luscious juice, when fermented, is really highly sought after. And this is the people associated with this statue are like known as vintners and distillers.
Yeah.
And Landon studies these fruits and has found to have captured the art of distilling a potion that yields hyper focus. So I'm just like dropping right into Seth's story. I think it's really funny. But anyway, this is Landon, and he's from one of our old stories. So
that's so great.
Yeah,
that's so great. Now we'll say that this is Landon completely devoid of the other story. He's the same character. It's just different timelines.
Well,
what do you think?
It could be. We could, haven't. There's nothing we've told in this story so far that would preclude him from being the same guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that everyone listening and ourselves will need to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah. And it's 5 episodes. It's a great story.
Did you listen to it?
No. But I've got a whole entire page of notes just on Sci-Fi Chakra. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
So I want. I guess I'll just talk about mine, because it'll be a bit of world building as well.
Okay.
And then if anyone has any, like, where do we go from here thoughts, then we can go. We're only 21 minutes in, so we're doing so good. So here's the thing. Up in the mountains, there are these villages, and they are kind of remote from each other. And while the world is kind of a post-scarcity thing, these villages vie for control of mines and valuable resources like livestock and things. And it's really interesting because they have all the modern conveniences that a person could want, but they're so remote that it's sort of difficult to just like next day air them some extra food, and so there's like 10 of them, and they all kind of fight again. They've been fighting for a while against each other, and they're kind of half incorporated into the sort of bigger governments of the world, but they're not like really incorporated in. But they have very valuable mines, gem mines especially, which is becoming more and more valuable asset to have. And so they have decided to settle their differences via armed combat, like a friendly game. Every year each village brings a person who has been trained in that village, and they have just like a tournament, right, to fight. And it's been going on for like 30 years or something, and it's really popular. It's like turned into a sport, and there's betting, and it's a festival, and it's like this whole thing. And yeah, sometimes people get hurt because these are like really skilled sort of, martial artists, and they're fighting and stuff. And there's strict rules about no gem emplacements and like different things like that. Like the person has to have their humors assessed and their auras read to see what their temperament is. That's like part of their card, you know, and then they have like trading cards where it's like he's really strong in aggressiveness, and strangely he's got some of this thing in him as well. And how is that going to shake up, right? It's been kind of just like this. Instead of killing each other or like fighting each other or like getting into real dispute, this is how they've decided to handle their differences and their issues. But Haggai was one of the people who they have selected to do this, and his father. Well, he was selected because his father was also selected. His father held the village that he's from. It's not really a village. It's more of like a town or a city. Held the title, which made it so that they held the property rights, the mineral rights for all the mines for like the last like 10 or 15 years, you know? And so he's completing his training to be basically compete the next time. And there's a lot of underhanded things that happen. Like he gets pounds of these gems ground up and then forced into tattoos all around his body so that they don't glow. His whole arm just kind of like dull shimmers as a way to hide it, but he has like more than probably almost anyone else. One of the things about being in this village is they have a really high tolerance to, they can hold a lot more than, there's some legends that say that this is where like people began. Like, this is like the cradle of civilization. But the problem is, this isn't the story. The story is that he loses his first fight, right? He loses his first fight to Belleron, the village that's kind of around the mountain face. And in his shame, he goes and hides, and he gets approached by an individual who asks him if he wants to repurpose all of his rage and power, because now that he has lost, they're never going to choose him again. His entire family tree is basically not cursed, but like all the honor is gone. And so this individual gives him one of these crystals, one of these gems for the 11th god, and he takes it and he incorporates it. You know, he grinds it up and snorts it, or however he incorporates it into himself. And he goes to that village and he kills everyone there, like in sort of a blacked out fugue state kind of thing. You know, he's like so overwhelmed with like the wickedness. What did I call the village again? Belarus?
Belleron, yeah.
So he becomes the butcher of Belleron.
Ooh.
And he, like, we're talking hand-to-hand combat.
I'm thinking of Samson. Like, you know, he went and just kind of created havoc when he got done wrong, you know?
Yeah, but this was clearly like a terrible thing. And this was like years ago, and now he's sort of an anti-hero, so he's drifted away from that, you know? He's changed his name. He tries to stay away from that. You know, Belleron is now a thing that in this mountain range they tell the kids, like, eat all your vegetables or the butcher of Belleron will come for you. You know, it's a terrible thing, you know, and he kind of lives in this space of like kind of in this place that like Jean Valjean was, like, I'm a terrible person, but I didn't really deserve this terrible lot I've been given, but I still kind of am to blame, but I'm really not, but I am a little bit, you know? And so he's the anti-hero. He defends what's right, but he also beats up people who like insult him, you know? And he has a really specific set of abilities. Like, he can take on vast quantities of this aspect, you know? He trained under monks who would like meditate and open up the warehouse of humors in their bodies so that they could take on mass quantities of these gods, you know? He can do that, and he has a lot of it, but his psyche's kind of astray now because of this kind of, it's like if someone were to like say, here, take this shot of this alcohol, it's evil. And it's like you take it, and it's like that's like such a high concentration that you just do something evil. And then everything that's good in you starts to war against it, but there's still this kind of high concentration, you know? And he can't just go to the temple and drop it off, because where's the temple to the evil one? No one knows. So he is just kind of this guy who will be part of the story. He's selfish. He's self-centered. He wants to do what's right. He can never go home, but they sure deserved it. You know, it's like the Butcher of Belleron.
Okay.
All right. So I got a couple ideas here that might shape up where the story will head.
Okay, let's hear it.
So being he's the anti-hero, he could be perhaps maybe someone's got an idea for a hero and he's an anti-hero that kind of comes with him. But one of the themes, so I think they figure out that you can take from the gods and then you can also give up that aspect.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think he gets involved in, or reluctantly goes along, or willingly goes along because he wants to get rid of that wicked side of him, right?
Right.
And thinks that maybe if they can find the temple of the evil one, he can give up that aspect.
Right.
However, here's the hitch, is it's giving yourself to that thing. So because that's the way it's perceived to work with all the other ones, and it kind of is, but it's, not, by giving up to the evil one,
yeah,
it's actually giving up completely to him, right? So it's this idea where, like, I think maybe in the first part of the story, this is all set up, blah, blah, blah. And then you have some people who maybe like him or, pious and wanting to maybe find this temple of the evil one and give up all the evil that is in them, whether they've injected a black stone or not, or
right,
whatever it is, but thinking that if they can find that temple, they could perceive perfection,
right,
by giving up that aspect.
Right.
But in matter of fact, it's actually giving up yourself completely to that. And I think that might give a basis of where, the story is going.
Yeah. It
Right?
could even be that it could even be that the statue lies. The take alms is they're both giving. All he does is give.
Oh, yeah.
You can't give him back aspects of himself. All he does is give to you, or all he does is take from you. Sorry, my brain just thought of a scene from a movie. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah, no, I think that's and I think, like, with his own fight, I mean, not to be kind of philosophical, but the idea then, well, I don't know, maybe I won't come up with that, but maybe that's what the third episode will be, where we can bring some ideas on what the resolution of their journey, and then kind of what they figure out and how to resolve.
Yeah. So what's the goal gonna be? What did you say?
I think the goal would be then that either, did you give your guy a name? It was a prophet name, Haggai.
Yeah.
Him, and then let's say a group of people that, all for different reasons. I would say maybe one of them is like, would that be kind of like, I don't know if narcissistic would be the right word, but like, where it's like, if I can just, I'll let go of if we can find the temple of the evil one, right? And then we give up, that evil aspect. You got people like Haggai, or maybe there's someone else who's done, something. Maybe there's someone else that, unlike Haggai, who's got it kind of like infiltrated through his system, like you said, like snorted the thing or whatever.
Right.
Maybe someone's got one of these black stones, or, and they're trying to, get it taken out, or, for maybe, like, I don't know, like a quartet idea where then they're, all kind of going to try to find the temple, for all their own reasons, to then, give something up. And maybe one of them is actually trying to find it because they, are trying to serve the guy more. And so he's kind of, trying to bring these guys along, and maybe he's getting, I'm thinking of like The Stand, right? Where, a bunch of them are traveling and they're all getting those dreams. Right. And then, some of them are, they're all getting the bad dreams, but then the one or two of them that are given over to the dark man, are kind of lying about the dreams that they're getting or not getting, as they kind of play along with the group as it goes.
And then there's the scientists who want to prove. There's the scientists who want to prove that it doesn't exist, and there's the religious people who want to say no 11th exists at all, or if it does, we need to know about it. Lots of stuff.
Yeah, so I think you've got a group of, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 people eventually that are kind of all together for a slightly common purpose, but all for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's, kind of where they're going, and they all want to figure this out for their own reason and, get there and, figure it out.
Yeah, we're going to make the 11th, not the 11th, are we going to make the villain this 11th guy, or is it going to be like a cult leader?
I think the villain would be the 11th guy, and then the villain's sidekick would be probably one of the people in the group that have the nefarious, intentions.
Yeah. Part of this makes me think of all the scenes, like coming up to the cave entrance, makes me think of all the scenes from the Wheel of Time when anyone's at the boar,
Oh, yeah.
It's like terrible and difficult, and like all of reality is kind of being warped.
Time is
you
warped.
know, and the dark one like speaks straight into your mind, and for the Forsaken, it's like beautiful and kind of like euphoric to hear his voice, but you know, it sounds like it's probably like actually really painful and bad, you know? And it's like, is this it kind of sounds like it's like really radioactive. I have that kind of picture, you know. It also makes me think like I have these like pictures in my brain. It's like kind of semi Lovecraftian, you know, kind of crawling through a cave and seeing like a hand like buried in rubble with like half of a face buried in rubble. And there's like two hands, you know, and at first it looks fine, but then like the hand and the face look wronger and more bad and more difficult. I don't know. I get these pictures in my brain. There's an AI making AI images in my mind sometimes. Can't get them to stop.
And
Oh wait, no,
5G.
that's called this just call it imagination.
oh yeah, that.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, great. Do we want to call it good for today, or anyone else have any cool world building stuff? Ladies and gentlemen,
I think I'm good unless
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Wait It Gets Better. If you like this episode, if you like the elements we brought in, send us an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or message us on Twitter. You can add us or send us a private message at @getsbettercast. We love to hear from you. We love to hear from our fans. You guys are the best. And until next time, just wait, because it gets better.